Hello, everyone. I'm Teresa Lisum coming to you with my amazing guest co-host, Tricia Livermore. Welcome, Tricia. And we're evolving women. I'm evolving. You're evolving. We're all evolving. So we're here to help each other evolve. We are here to help you evolve along your journey. And we just want to fill you up with uplifting messages, offer some new perspectives, plant some new seeds, maybe offer some new tools, resources, some wellness ideas, maybe some mindset shifts. But we're really here so you can have a stronger belief in yourself. And we're here to give you permission to be your best self. So, welcome. We're so glad you're here. Courage doesn't decide to show up until you decide to move through the fear. Have you ever thought on that before? So, Tricia Livermore, you're here to help us kind of unpack that and see where it goes. So, welcome.
Thank
I
you. Thank you
I
for
do
having me.
want to tell viewers and listeners that Tricia is in this cool book, multi-author book, Leaving Your Legacy. And it just so happens both her and I are authors in this book. Our chapters are actually back to back, which is really cool. But her chapter is packed full of nuggets of wisdom. She shares her journey and she shares tons of helpful things for us all to learn. It's called The Lesson. That part of the chapter is called The Lesson. It's packed full of things for people to pick through and find what resonates with them. So, Tricia, thanks so much again for being here and talk a little bit about courage. What does this thing mean? It came from your chapter. Courage doesn't decide to show up until you decide to move through the fear. Those were your words, my friend.
Yes, thank you for pointing that out. And, the title of my chapter is Courage for the Next Step, the self-love you need for the life you crave.
Mhm.
And I think, everyone has fears and we all have self-doubts and they can stop us in our tracks from moving forward in our potential in our life, or we can choose to take action and do something about it. And, I heard a quote and I don't remember who it was from, where they had said something to the effect of, courage only shows up when you're in the face of fear. So in order to move through the fear, you have to muster some courage to make a choice, to make a decision that I'm going to move forward in whatever steps I'm going to move forward. And in my chapter, I talk about how, I was laid off, I got divorced all at the same time. I made some very difficult decisions with some relationships that I had had. And all of those things were because I was in a place where in complete and absolute burnout and very unhappy in my life. So the only way to really the only way to live the life I wanted to live was to make some really, really, really hard and scary choices.
Mhm.
And I didn't make those choices for a very long time, which, resulted in an autoimmune disorder.
Mhm.
And I finally just got to the point where it was like, I have to do something different. And that's where courage oftentimes shows up in those moments where you're sort of in the darkest place and you've just had enough.
Mhm. I love that you said you choose to take action or you choose not to take action. It's either or, it's really not both. And it takes courage to make a choice. I mean, right off the bat, it takes courage to make a choice, yes or no, this way or that way, in denial or move forward on it.
Yeah.
That's
And
huge.
yeah, thank you. And I think, not making a conscious choice is also making
Yes,
a
yes,
subconscious choice,
yes,
right?
yes,
We're
yes,
staying
yes,
in the stuckness of choosing
yes.
not to move out of it, right? And there's no
Mm-hmm.
judgment in any of that, right? There's absolutely no judgment. It's just having a significant amount of awareness and noticing where we are and where we want to be and what's the smallest, tiniest step
Mm,
that we can take to move us in the direction that we want to be in. And sometimes it takes is just one tiny, tiny,
mm-hmm.
tiny little step.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Sometimes people thinks it's a huge decision where there's this big old change or this ginormous step. And really, I think it probably does not happen like that, like for almost nobody. It's just those little teeny baby steps. So that is, if you can just focus on that one small step, then others will come to you. The trajectory of your path or your journey will change in some way with that one small decision, that one small action.
Well, it gives you momentum, right? So
Mhm.
you make a choice and, and then you have, you can see the consequences of that choice in your life and how it feels within you, right? If you're making a choice and it doesn't feel good, noticing how that feels in your body, and noticing where that's coming from. So, I think one of the things that I learned, and I probably don't even mention this in my chapter, is I was really wasn't feeling what was happening in my body. I was
Mm,
thinking about what I wanted. And,
yeah.
through my healing journey, what I've realized is when we notice how we feel in our body and then bring that to the forefront, and noticing, okay, I made this choice. How did it feel? And sometimes I had to make choices like I didn't have any good options for choices at a particular moment in my life. I wasn't happy in my marriage. I wasn't happy in my career. I didn't know what to do. I didn't like any of my options, but I created a list of options and as I crossed the ones off, there was like, there's no way I can do that. I'm like, okay, what are all of these options? Like, what's the best of the worst? What's the one thing that I can live with, I can live with this option and I can make a decision around it and just notice and see what happens. And sometimes that gives you the momentum you need in order to kind of create that snowball effect of making more and more decisions and choices that are aligned with your authentic self.
Mm-hmm. Mm. And from what I've seen and experienced, once you do set that momentum by taking that small action, that small step, things start to unfold to give you other options, like things that you would not have thought of or you couldn't have expected, you couldn't have planned it. But like it's the universe meets you along that journey, like, okay, you're going to take some action. Okay, then we'll counteract that, or whatever. And yeah, I've heard many, many people say that, and it's a beautiful unfolding after that. Um, but I love this whole concept of the choice and not making a choice and the small steps and the courage and listening to your body. I mean, many of us don't pay attention, and then that translates into a health issue down
Yeah.
the road because
Yeah.
we're not paying attention.
Yeah, and I think, we've lived in a world where it's do, 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 go, go,
Yes,
go. We have to
yes.
be busy, we have to perform, we have to have outcomes,
Mm-hmm.
we have to have goals.
Yep.
And it's a very masculine energy. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying masculine energy is bad in any way, shape, or form, but we also have the polarity of feminine energy, right? So taking time to rest, taking time for ourselves, taking our own wellness, whatever that looks like for ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
and giving ourselves permission literally to do nothing. And, we've had this society and a culture where it says you have to constantly be
Yes.
doing something and being
Yes.
productive. And that is so incredibly harmful for our well-being. And I think we're seeing that in society.
Yes. I
We're
was just going
seeing,
to say, yes, many people are suffering from that because they are believing that and they're not taking time, they're not prioritizing their own self-care. Um, yeah. That is so common. Again, especially in our country, in the States here. Like you said, it's all about doing because our identity is attached to that doing and that productivity.
Yes, yeah. And when we can start moving um out of the constant doing and more into the being of who do we want to be and how do we want to be and what works for us individually, our unique self, right? Because
Mhm.
I'm different than you,
Yep.
your energy levels are different than mine, and there's no comparison, right? Like what
Hmm.
works for you great. What works for me great. And really having an acceptance and giving ourselves permission to allow our own unique individuality to show up in that space.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I had this conversation earlier today. We tend to hide that side of ourselves for fear of judgment.
Yep.
And yeah, and it's stressing everybody out. We're all having health issues because of it. So it's all manifesting because of what we're doing.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
not doing. Yeah. And again, that might be some new information to some people, but that's what we're all about here, planting new seeds and giving new perspectives to our viewers and listeners. So I want to kind of dig into a little bit about beliefs about ourselves. That's, I will admit that was a tricky thing for me to comprehend at first when I first heard that. And so there might be other people listening to this that don't believe that or don't see it or don't understand it. I'm actually reading a book all about our beliefs. Everything comes down to our beliefs. Beliefs drive our behavior, drive
Yeah.
our choices. And if that's the first time you've heard that, it is like what does that even mean? Because many of us don't know what our underlying beliefs are because our beliefs are picked up from very young from the people and the environment around us. So we may have no conscious awareness what those beliefs are, but yet they're driving our behavior.
Yeah. What I have learned through my own personal journey is that every one of us projects out onto the world our core beliefs. And
Mm,
so if our core beliefs are rejection or abandonment or lack of belonging or lack of love, we're going to constantly be projecting that out onto others.
mm,
And so we have to be really thoughtful in our relationships and how we see ourselves. And so when we can each individually look beliefs. My core wounds are a combination of feeling rejected and not feeling good enough, smart enough, right?
Oh yeah,
So
I can relate to that one.
right. So when you can clear pull back the onion and look at our core beliefs of how do we believe in ourselves, then we can really honestly make those changes, and really start shifting that perspective of whatever the scenario was or the multiple scenarios that they are, looking at ourselves in a new way with love and kindness and grace and
Mhm.
significant compassion, right? Because that inner critic our ego is constantly going to try and keep us safe, right?
Mhm.
So keeping us safe is, oh wait, we had an experience where we did or said something and this felt very unsafe, so we're going to avoid that. So that was
Right,
me.
right.
I'm going to avoid speaking up because it felt very unsafe. um and only after I realized that, everybody else has their own wounds, their own
Yeah.
issues, their own thing. They're on their own journey, and all I have to
Mhm.
do is feel good about who I am, love me, and be really super conscious and aware of what my wounds are and how they show up. And then when you get to a place where you can notice that, like you're in a conversation with somebody and they say something, and you physically have this, like, ooh, this tightening in my chest,
Mhm.
like, oh wow, that hit a nerve. And now I'm at the point where, like, okay, that's my not good enough,
Mhm.
wound. And it's really, they weren't attacking me. It wasn't about that. This is about me. And really breathing through it. Like, if I can give advice to anyone who's feeling triggered, or whatever word you want to use for that moment, breathe through it. Breath is just so incredibly important to move you through it.
And we forget we have that tool at our disposal. Like it's free, it's right there. And we are somewhat dismissive of it. I know I was up until not that long ago, but like you said, it brings us back into the moment, gives us some time to reassess, get centered, line back up, get some fresh way of looking and thinking about things, and then move forward. But yeah, breath is huge. I love talking about the self-love, the self-compassion, because a lot of us we've struggled with that, like that's a hard thing. It's easy to say, but
Yep.
it's harder to put into action and change that belief about ourselves that yes, we are deserving of that.
Yeah, and I think for me, I had an experience with my mother about 8 years ago, in which she did something that I felt fully rejected by, like completely felt totally rejected by, and I had to go to therapy. I used
Mm,
EMDR I talk therapy. I did a variety of different things to move me through the anger and the sadness and the rejection and the lack of love. And I have to say that she taught me to love myself, because what I realized is I was constantly seeking love from others. That was a core
mm,
wound that I had with my mother. I ended my relationship with her, and I'm just now starting to rebuild that relationship with her, because I'm in a place where I can absolutely forgive her, even though
mm.
I may never get an apology, and that's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
She's in her wounds, and I'm gonna accept her for where she's at. Boundaries
Mm-hmm.
are important though, but she really taught me, like, I need to love myself, and it's a journey, like you
Mm.
said. It's not an easy journey to start learning to love yourself when you've been criticizing yourself or in
Yes. Yep.
negative thought patterns for so long.
Yes.
It takes time to rewire your brain to really truly love yourself. And I can say that I am now in a place where I really truly love myself. I put myself first in everything. I make sure that my energy is high vibratory as often as
Mm-hmm.
possible. um and to your point, what we were talking about earlier, those synchronicities of the people that now come into my life are just at a very different space than the people I had in my life 7, 8 years ago.
Mm.
Very heartfelt, compassionate,
Mm-hmm.
loving, kind. That's who I want to be. That's how I want to show up. And, which is really all about self-love and having acceptance for that, and knowing that others may not be in that space, and just having acceptance for where
Yeah.
they're at.
Yeah. And compassion for them.
Yes.
Everybody is where they're at, and we don't know their backstory. We don't know what get them to this particular point. And but yet we do take it personally. Like, why did they do that to us? Well, when it's really not about us, it's all about them and
Yeah.
their belief about themselves.
Yeah, yeah. And and to say that this is a lifelong journey, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
even just a week ago, I was in a conversation with a group of people, and we were doing a mindful arrival practice to our meeting. And I don't remember what the gentleman was saying about our arrival practice, but I just remember thinking that the concept of belonging came up. And I've always felt like I don't really belong anywhere. Like, I always felt like this world is just doesn't isn't a
Yeah.
match for me. I've never felt like
Yes.
I belonged here. And
Yes.
what I realized in that moment is, having that awareness of my core wounds, is I belong wherever I am.
Love that. Love
Right? So,
that.
like, if I can stand in that I belong wherever I am, and I can choose to stay in that, wherever I'm at, or I can choose to leave it, I am going to listen to my intuition about what is right for me.
Love that. I belong wherever I am, or you wouldn't be there.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, that's huge. But I love that you, again, you referenced it's a journey, it's a practice. It's not a one time, oh, I love myself now, I'm good.
Yeah,
Like, and then you don't have to think about it again because that's
right?
not true. It's a
No.
constant working at it, and some days may be better than other days. Like,
Yep.
yeah, I really love myself today. Yesterday, not so much.
Right.
But
That
I
is,
didn't stay
yeah,
in
yeah,
that. I moved myself out of it, but so it's a constant up and down, but to have the bulk of your time in that space is that's where we all want to be, right? Where we're operating out of that self-love the majority of the time and not
yeah,
stay in that low frequency where you're not too in love with yourself all
yeah,
the time. That's just, yeah, it's not healthy on
yeah.
any level.
Right. And and cycles, right? Like the moon is a cycle, right?
Hmm.
So we have cycles in our lives, we have cycles with our moods, we have cycles in our relationships, we have so many cycles, and to give ourselves permission when we're in a lower cycle, it just means that we're processing something. So just be
Mm,
really kind and generous to yourself when you're in that lower cycle.
I love that. And as women, we're taught to nurture everybody but ourselves.
Yes.
Like we don't deserve our nurturing that we put out there on other people. And yeah, we're here to change that, aren't we?
Yes, we are. Absolutely.
I know I have a picture, and this was a positive intelligence hack, I guess, that I learned about thinking about yourself as a young little toddler
Yep.
or any other person, not just yourself. But
Yep.
I actually found a picture of myself. It's in my closet. I see it every day of this cute little Teresa, with this nice grin on her face. And I just look at her and I grin like, yeah, yeah, like that just reminds me that energy, that essence is still in me. And that essence deserves self compassion and self love. So it's a visual reminder for me to
I
extend that self love and nurturing to myself.
Yeah, I also learned that in my positive intelligence training. And I think the other thing that we can do with that exercise is to think of the people that we may not agree with or we may not like or we have some judgment against, and see them as their youngest child,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
See their inner child because they are just like us, right? They are full of love and full of
Hmm.
life at their youngest childhood.
Oh, we got a
Oh
little
God.
internet glitch.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's okay. I never know if it's my end or your end. Oh,
Um,
it's telling me my internet connection is unstable. So it could have been me.
okay. So yeah, so just, when you come across somebody that you're challenged by, think of their inner child, see
Hmm.
their inner child and know that, they're having their own concerns and issues and wounds and trying to do their best, right? Whatever their best is, they're trying to do their best. And I think that's where forgiveness and that unconditional positive regard towards others can come in.
And compassion. Yeah, for sure. What is the four agreements? One of them says, don't take it personally. I remember
And
when I first read that book, I'm like, I don't get this. And then when I read it a second time, I'm like, oh, I get it now. Now it
yeah,
makes sense. So yeah, don't take it personally because like I said, everybody's in a different space and offer them compassion.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So much we can tease out of your chapter. And we're just running out of time, sadly. And
Yeah.
I know you have lots that you would like to leave with our viewers. I know you said breathe. Breathe is a big one. So if there's one thing some gem of wisdom you can leave with our viewers and our listeners, I'm going to invite you to do that now.
Yeah, I would say that Having gratitude and appreciation for what you have already in your life is highly underrated, meaning a
Mm,
lot of people don't spend time having substantial gratitude and appreciation. So if you could do two things differently, is when you go to bed at night, think of 3 to 5 things that you have
mm,
gratitude for and feel them in your body. Like that's the other, like you
mm.
have to feel the gratitude. You can't just think of the gratitude. You have to feel it in your body. And then when you wake up in the morning, you'll likely notice, if you do this on a regular basis, you'll likely notice that your mood is shifted in the morning, and
Mhm.
have some gratitude for whatever you're looking forward to in the day.
Yes.
The more we can lean into gratitude and appreciation, the more it shifts our inner thinking, our belief system, our energy. It has a significant impact on how we show up in the world.
Yes. Gratitude is huge. And sometimes people just throw that word around,
Yes.
you know, but it really is powerful. And so I appreciate you leaving us with that call to action. Tonight, when you go to bed, write down a couple of things. And I think it's the actual physical writing. Like you can have it in your head, but it's more impactful if you actually take it from your head and put it down, or at least tell somebody, share with somebody what you're grateful for. But it does set your tone for when you go to sleep and when you get up. And I
Yeah.
like to lay in bed like, oh, I'm so grateful for my cozy blankets.
Yes, exactly. And that's the key, is like feeling the gratitude. Like
Hmm.
I can't say that enough. Like feel the gratitude.
Yeah, I love that. Again, that's coming back to the body.
Hmm.
Actually feel it. I love you've mentioned that several times. Feel it, feel it, feel it. That's yeah, something I wish I had learned a lot earlier than I did.
Right? Yes, me too.
But we all get to that point where, we're looking back and wishing certain things happen, but we're all on our journey. And I want to say our journey has to come to an end right at this point. But I want to thank you so much for being here. I'm going to invite viewers to go grab this book. Her chapter, again, is packed full of wisdom, as are the other chapters. But check it out. We'll put a link in the description. It's on Amazon. Lots of 22 authors in there share their wisdom in those different chapters. Where can people find and connect with you, Trish?
Yeah, they can find me on LinkedIn at Tricia Livermore, or they can go to my website, Soul Business Advisor, and Soul, Soul Business Advisor. I'm a life and leadership coach that really supports women generally who want to create more harmony in their lives.
Love that. So again, we will put that information in the description. You can go find her, check her out, and see all the good she's doing out there in the world. So thank you so much, Tricia. Appreciate you. Appreciate everybody watching and viewing. Go check out our other episodes. I have the delightful honor of talking with so many awesome women out there in the world. And Trish, you are definitely one of them. So thank you so much, my friend. And thank you, everybody who's listening in. We appreciate you, and we will see you the next time. Bye bye.
Thank you.